Hello and welcome to Military Mantra. In this interview, we have today Commandant Ashutosh Mohile, who has served in Indian Coast Guard for around 26 years. And in this interview, we'll try to understand his journey of joining Indian Coast Guard, life in the Indian Coast Guard, and various life lessons that he has learned over his service. So thank you, sir, for coming on this interview and welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful opportunity for me to be face to face with young people who are aspiring to join armed forces. And I don't think there is anything better in life. At least I thought so when I joined. And I still believe that that is one of the best careers to join armed forces. And if I can be of any help to anybody in terms of guidance to join the armed forces, I'll consider myself very blessed.
Absolutely.
Thank you for inviting me.
So if you could, start telling us, how was your journey before joining the Indian Coast Guard? How was that life for you?
Yeah, it's I honestly speaking, I was not a very bright student. I felt that the theory was too much. It was not practice oriented, and I could not relate with it. However, it was my childhood dream right from young days to join armed forces. My father was in army. He was a civilian officer, but he was in army.
Okay.
And I did see the army a little close quarters. But I had that passion for uniform. And I was a cub, a scout. Then I was commander of my school band. And I did NCC, Naval NCC, right from 8th standard. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the 3 years of college. So I have got A1, A2, B, C, all these certificates. And I think this NCC particularly, of course, scouts also did, help me shape my life. Okay. But NCC actually taught me a lot of things. I learned to stand on 2 legs. People stand on 1.5 leg all the time. All of us do. But small habits, and they help shape your personality, build your confidence. You learn how to walk, how to speak, how to stand in front of people. These are all important things because if you want to lead subsequently in life, how you present yourself to other people is very important. And it's also important to analyze yourself, think internally, and grow richer through your. So NCC helped me quite a lot.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to go for SSB first time directly because of my C certificate in NCC, Naval NCC. And I went to the 33 SSB board in Bhopal. We had a batch of 80 and it was fun. So in my last semester in my college, even before the final exam, I went for my first SSB at Bhopal. And I didn't really know what to expect or what to prepare. I was told very categorically by one of the senior army officers I took a little guidance from that you don't really prepare for SSB. The SSB preparation is the long-term preparation. You prepare yourself internally. So it's not something overnight that you sit and you study. I mean, maybe current affairs, you may read newspapers or magazines. That's fine. You know what is happening in the country or in the world. But the real preparation happens over a long period of time. And I think NCC prepared me for it. My scout prepared for it. And I had my own image of what an armed forces officer should be. With that, I went to SSB, and from a batch of 80, it was 2 of us who got selected there. And I felt I just walked through. There was nothing difficult about it. It was quite an enjoyable experience in reality. Though I was told before I went there that the competition is going to be very tough. All the NCC guys will come there. They're highly motivated. So you have a tough competition there and don't expect much from it. But take an experience and come back. This is what my guru that time, Brigadier Pitre from Para Commandos, he had advised me. And he was too happy when I came back successful. And well, thereafter I had one after the other challenges. Initially, something was suspected in the medicals. I did not get the call-up letter for my PABT, Pilot Aptitude Battery Test. I had actually applied for Naval Aviation at that time. And subsequently, even after getting the joining letter for the Surface Navy General Duty, I could not join as I finished my graduation. There were some issues at that time. So it was, it's also, I think, a lesson for a lot of young people who don't succeed, that in spite of achieving something which is not easily available to many people, I got through, I got a joining letter, and I still could not join. And it was my childhood dream. But that did not really, put me off. And I realized that life has to go on, because in SSB also they ask, I think almost all batches, all people, they ask, what if you don't get selected? And I had said, when I'm not selected, I'll try again. I know I have it in it. They said, no, if you still don't get selected, then what? And I said, life doesn't come to an end. I'm sure I'll find something good to do with my life. I'll steer my life safely and positively, even if I don't get. So that stuck with me, and I did, work as a medical rep for a few months in a small company. I just had a walk-in interview. It was a very interesting interview also. I was inexperienced. I had degree in physics, so my subjects were physics, maths, and stats. And when I went for this walk-in interview in a hotel in Pune, I had all the other people who had some experience. They already worked somewhere for at least a year, 2 years, something like that. When my turn came, I knocked the door and I told the gentleman inside from the door, I said, sir, I stopped learning biology in 10th standard. In 11th and 12th, I had technical subjects. And I stopped learning chemistry in 12th standards. My graduation subjects were physics, mathematics, and statistics. I think for a medical rep, it is necessary to have a knowledge of biology and chemistry. And this is my status as far as biology and chemistry studies are concerned. If you still think I can be of use, I will come inside. Otherwise, I will not waste your time. And he started laughing and he said, young man, come inside. And I told him very, very frankly that this is not my dream job. This is a stopgap arrangement. But when I work here, I will give my 100%. That is, there is no doubt about it. And I did that. In a short span of time, the name spreads in a marketplace. If somebody is working well, it doesn't remain hidden. And unfortunately, that is something which is rare, because most of the people want to get maximum at the minimum cost. They want to give minimum and take maximum. So if you are ready to work 100% dedicatedly, honestly, your competition is actually cut down. So I got a call from most of the major pharmaceuticals at that time, and I went and joined Ranbaxy for veterinary division. Traveled quite a lot. I had 4 districts in Maharashtra. Every day I used to travel about 200 kilometers on a Bajaj M80. It's a moped. People would not believe that I have come from Pune to Dhulia, Ahmednagar and Nasik, Jalgaon. And I used to do this whole trip twice a month. So I worked hard, and side by side, I was preparing for my other exams. Now, Navy had gone out of my hand because I was already selected. I did not apply for the next exam. And my age had, by the time all this happened, the age had gone. Navy's age is quite low comparatively. So I still had Army as an option. I applied for Army, and I came to know about Coast Guard. I applied for Coast Guard. Coast Guard was quite new at that time. And while working, I prepared, went for my interviews, went for the SSB. Next was the Coast Guard. I went for Coast Guard interview, and it is something like SSB only. It is called Final Selection Board, Preliminary Selection Board and Final Selection Board, where some part of the SSB is not included, like your obstacle course, etc. It happened at that time because the Coast Guard did not have so much resources there. Now things are looking up. Coast Guard has got a lot of resources, and I think they are improving. The SSB now FSB is done by the Coast Guard officers themselves. At that point of time, there was nobody from Coast Guard who was trained for this job. So we used to go at that time to Army's headquarters of SSB in Delhi. And it was everything else except for the obstacles course and the group tasks that you have on the field. So I got selected there also, came back. The third was my Army SSB at Allahabad, and I got through that also. So I think if you have prepared yourself in a right way, I don't think SSB is really very difficult, because No study, no memorizing is required. Actually, you don't have to memorize anything. What comes to your heart, you just put it across. Only important thing is that what motivates you to join armed forces should be very clear to you. If you are joining only for because the uniform looks smart and because people are going to salute you once you become an officer, this kind of motivations are not really healthy, and they will not. They will see through you when you go for the interview, when you go for your psychological test. So what really motivates you to join the armed forces must be very, very clear to you. Patriotism is definitely important, but I believe even a person who is repairing shoes on the roadside is as patriotic as an army jawan who stands at the border post. Anybody who does his job passionately and honestly is a patriot. So then what really motivates you is what you're looking for in life. So what I felt was I loved adventure. I used to trek. I learned to sail because of NCC. And boat pulling, sailing, all these activities I was able to do because of NCC. And I loved that. So I said, I want adventure. If I go and join some company, work for some company, I will have to take leave. And then I will have to go for my adventure trips. But if I join armed forces, it's adventure every day. And I'll get paid for it. I don't have to take leave and go. And so like this, also I saw, I really felt strongly about injustice. I was ready to stand up and fight. You put on a uniform. I have myself interviewed subsequently for the Jawans recruitment and all that. And you ask a person, you're walking by the road and you have one girl walking past you, and there are 3-4 big guys troubling her, harassing her. And what will you do? And they talk about calling police, and they say that we will, what else can you do? Because those 3-4 big guys can beat you up. When you don't, you're not scared when you want to don a uniform and stand in the path of the bullets. You don't get scared by some roadside gundas. And all of us must have this very, very clear. You should not be afraid of a conflict. So you can call it courage. You can call it courage of conviction. You're so strongly believing in fairness and good treatment to people that you're ready to stake your life for it. So these things, I think, helped me. The thought process helped me. What experiences I had through NCC. And after working for about 1.5 years outside, finally I joined the Coast Guard.
Okay.
Coast Guard was a choice because I had spent all my life training about the ships in Naval NCC. And I loved water myself. I loved swimming. I was a very good swimmer. And I was a sailor by the time. So I had spent a lot of time in company of water, and I thought I should join a sea service. And that's what made me join the Coast Guard. Though I knew very little about Coast Guard at that time. My image about Coast Guard was that, I will probably be in charge of a small piece of a sea coast where there will be probably a few platoons, and we will go patrolling in small motorboats and, stop any illegal activity. But Coast Guard is quite big. Coast Guard at that time also had big ships carrying helicopters and almost 100 people, 80, 100 people on them.
Got it.
How was my journey before joining the Coast Guard?
Sir, since you are recommended, 3 times, once from Navy, Army, and even from the Coast Guard. So now when you, reflect back, what do you think you did there were, a reason for your recommendation? Now when you look back, what would they be?
One thing was I was a good listener. So that helps a lot. When you speak a lot, you only repeat what you know. But when you listen, you get to know something new. So that was one thing. I didn't have any doubts when their instructions are very clear. So that was one very important part, that every instruction was understood correctly and followed. Second was that what I realized, people have a lot of misconceptions about leadership. This I realized even then. When you perform your group task and all that, you will see some people start ordering around. They think that they are in charge and therefore they have to show that they are in charge. They speak loudly, they order people around, and they will to the point that they are rude. Whereas a leader is not like that. Leader walks in when the risk is high. He goes in first. He takes people on board. People follow him out of their own will, not because he orders, not because of his commands. So you don't have to speak loudly. You don't have to order people around. You have to gel well with them. You have to make a team. In a short span of time, you can make a team. So when they see you're listening to them, you're taking the suggestions, you're mixing your own plan with their plan and making a combined win-win plan. You're not holding on to your own things just because they're yours. You're open to suggestions from people. It's very important. Otherwise, you cannot never form a team.
That's correct.
So my own batchmates at that time in the SSB, some of them were trying to advise me, saying that, oh, no, you don't do it like this. You should not be talking normally. You should be standing there and you should be commanding people and all that. And I strongly disbelieve that. I think that was very, very important aspect regarding, it did help in getting in, because this is what you need to have in a real leadership. You need to listen to people. You have to connect with them, and they do things out of their own will. Although you want them to do them, but when they do those things, they do those things because they feel like doing it. You are convincing them so much, so well, verbally and non-verbally both, that they feel like doing it on their own. And you give them the credit for doing it also at the same time. So this, I think, was an important lesson which I learned there. And all throughout my service life also, I have been seeing this. There's no reason for raising a voice, being rude to anybody, abusing. These are all great misconceptions. You rather break people, you break your connections with them, you leave bad memories in their mind, rather than proving to be a good leader. So I think that was one very important aspect of selection as well as my service.
Got it. So I'll take that question a step ahead. We hear something called officer-like qualities. So since you're a very senior officer, how do you look at it? Do people have to, develop them and then go to the selection process? Or does it eventually get developed during a course of training or service?
I would say that it is both. You hone these qualities on your own. And when you join service, they will further get honed. Because this is a lot of leadership is situational leadership. You get into a situation, and how you deal with that situation decides what qualities you and what lessons you learn out of even failures, both success as well as failures. So officer-like qualities is nothing but leadership qualities, And I mean, you can actually list a lot of them, but I would say first of all, it's a dignity. Your dignified behavior. You would not stoop low to achieve something. You will not make compromise with your ethics. So for this, you don't have to join the armed forces. This is your own thought process. That I will not bribe somebody, no matter what. I'll fight, but I will not bribe. I will suffer inconvenience, no problem, but I will not bribe. Now, this is a choice that you make. I feel life is nothing but a sequence of choices. So if you make correct choices at young age and have faith in those choices, then you will not find, then you have those qualities. You are ready, you are committed, you have conviction, and you're so committed to your conviction that you're ready to sacrifice your convenience, your comfort. So that is one very important quality of an officer, that he will maintain dignity. He will not compromise his ethics. If something is wrong, he will stand up and say, this is wrong. It will not be done. Not on my watch. I will not allow this to happen on my watch. Or this, being open to different ways of doing things is very good. That is flexibility. Innovation comes out like that. But compromise with ethics, never. That's a very strong line. So every young person must have this very clear in his mind that he will not be ready to compromise, bribe somebody, do something wrong, in name of competition, try to put somebody down intentionally.
Mm.
So what is right and wrong? I think we all have a certain mind map of it. What's right, what's not wrong. If something you feel should not be done to you by other people, then you should not be doing that to the other people also.
Okay.
So we have this right and wrong mind map. You have to follow it very, very strongly, no matter what.
Mm.
So this is a choice without getting into armed forces you can make, whatever walk of life you go into.
Mm.
Dignity is second. You don't stoop low. You maintain your dignity. If things work out, very good. If they don't work out, let it be. No, you don't stoop low and go below. So that is second. Officer-like quality requires you to bring people together, bring in the cohesiveness. You must be able to, have one-to-one relations which are so good. They go beyond your day-to-day work. These are long-term relations. Now today, when I look back, people who worked with me 30 years ago, we are still connected. I can give nothing to them. But our goodness has rubbed on each other. We respect each other. We remember tough times, good times that we spent together 30 years, 35 years ago. And we enjoy those memories. We come back together. If something good happens in their life, they will call me. If something happens in my life. So this connecting with people, the networking is not for gaining something back. It is just for brotherhood. This brotherhood is very strong amongst officers and in the armed forces, and that is how people go to any extent, knowingly going into a situation from which there is hardly any chance of coming back. Who will do it? For what salary?
Mm.
People do it for each other. They do it for their leader. They do it for their unit. So motivating somebody to an extent where he is ready to sacrifice his life, the ultimate sacrifice, it doesn't happen because of command. It doesn't happen because of ordering around. It happens because you have so much trust in each other. You love each other so much that one of you get injured, the other person goes, and risk his life and will get that person back. So these kind of things happen. The emotional connect is very necessary. And I think that's another officer-like quality. You got to be able to build the teams. We all, the life, learn about competition. But life is not competition. Life is collaboration. We lose sight of it.
Mm.
When you go for SSB or for any other exam, it is not you at the cost of the other. Both can get selected. SSB, as far as I know, I'm not an insider from SSB, but as far as I know, SSB's business is not to choose 1, 2, 3, only number of vacancies. That's happened somewhere else. SSB's business is to find out whether you're suitable or you're not suitable.
Yes.
If there is a batch of 80, all 80 can be suitable or none can be suitable. So this is not a competition. This is a competition with yourself. You prove yourself and you're through. So if this collaboration is visible, you're connecting with people. And you will not believe, in 1986, I had got selected for Navy.
Okay.
And the other person who got selected along with me, unfortunately, he also did not join the Navy at that time.
Okay.
He became my income tax commissioner. He joined IRS subsequently. And he had thick specs, so he could not, he was medically found unfit.
Mm.
We are still connected. We just spent those 10 days, 8 or 10 days together. But we are still connected. So connecting people is a very important art in life. When you find good people, you must keep them with you. And so this building up of relationships is a very important part of an officer and part of officer-like quality. So I don't think many people will really put it into word like this. They will talk about a lot of qualities. But if you cannot connect with people, if you can't form a good team, cohesive team, which loves each other, you can't succeed as an officer. This is another quality. And as you grow, you will have competition in your promotions also. But you have to realize that rank is not everything. Many people who don't pick up higher ranks, are equally good or even sometimes better. Sometimes people lose competition because they are not ready to compromise on their ethics. It's possible. So, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because you work at making yourself good, and you have good relation. You behave in a dignified manner. Because of all these qualities, wherever you go, you will succeed. Whatever situation you are thrown in, you will still succeed. So we have to take this competition. You got to scale it down in our brain. We have been taught right from our school days, KG days, you got to be number one. But when you see historically, a lot of number ones have reduced to nothing in life. Whereas people who were mediocres, they did something great in life. So the competition has to go out of your head. And you got to look for opportunities to collaborate, to help people. Even in competition, to help people. You must have seen some sportsmen, even leaving their first position and helping somebody who's fallen down. Now, those people are famous. They are respected. He may not probably get the first gold medal, but what he gets is probably more valuable than. So this is all part of the officer-like qualities, and these people stand out. They are ready to do what the masses are not ready to do. You see, a leader is a leader because he stands out. Leader is not leader because he follows the herd. He is ready to do something different. He is ready to go into conflict if required. He has got ability to hold people together and have a coherent one single response from everybody for a situation. So they are motivated to do something which is the task at hand. These are, I think, the very important officer-like quality. The honesty. You make some mistake, you got to be able to stand up and speak that I made this mistake. In aviation, this is very common. We do this in my squadrons. We always used to do it like a briefing room where all the pilots get together.
Okay.
Now you make a mistake and you survive. You stand up there and you say that yesterday I made so and so mistake. This is what happened, and I came out of it. But this is for everybody's lesson that you should not get into this situation, or this mistake which I made should not be made by others. Now the mutual respect is there, so nobody criticizes it. They'll analyze it but not criticize it. Will not speak about it outside the briefing room. The briefing room is kind of airtight, and respect that this person has shared it with us at the cost of his own stature, image. And he has shared his mistake, so we will respect that and will not be nasty with him, or will not talk about it outside. But here we will analyze and make sure we don't make that mistake. So that kind of trust needs to be there.
Got it. Sir, I would like to take you back to your training days once you got selected in the Indian Coast Guard. How did the training in the academy look like? You would have gone to Indian Naval Academy. So if you can speak about that or any experiences that you had there.
See, Naval Academy, no matter how much you prepare physically, it's still a challenge. Because you break all the barriers, your mental barriers. And initially it is tough because you hardly sleep. You work so much physically that you don't know whether it's day or night. You're running, you're not allowed to walk there. And your day starts very early in the morning, and many times it continues till the next day morning. That also happens. So it was definitely not easy, but the preparation which was done earlier, physical preparation, definitely did help. Mental preparation helped because I knew that I'm going to go through this kind of thing.
Okay.
So I saw some of my batchmates who were not mentally so prepared. At times they used to feel like giving up. And some of us used to tell them that, these moments you will remember you'll cherish these memories when you look back. So when when the stakes are high, when things are going wrong, you feel you can't do it, put your head down, keep your mouth shut, lift your chin and keep walking. This shall pass. This too shall pass. So many situations like that. A lot of funny things also used to happen. But one very motivating experience I would share with you. Almost at the end of this training, we used to have a Josh run. I think it is 14 kilometers Josh run with all your rifle, your backpack, your all the weight you have to carry, the standard items that you have to carry with you. And it is not an individual race; it's a division race. So we were all divided into divisions. They had names: Rana, Ranjit, Rajput. The ships' names, naval ships' names were given to them. And there are a number of checkposts on the way. So unless the whole division reaches the checkpost, they can't leave the checkpost. So it's not that the fastest people will run fast and they will get points, and that's not possible. And you could excuse only one or two people out of your division. So we had one guy who was really very pathetic runner. And every time he used to have problem, we knew that carrying this guy is going to be difficult. So we had exempted one person. There was another coursemate of mine who had a ligament, what do you call it, tear, ligament tear. And a ligament tear is very, very painful, extremely painful. He was barely able to walk. So we were all worried about him, that how he's going to manage. We took his rifle, we took his backpack so that he could, try. But we didn't really believe that he could run because he was barely able to walk. He ran entire 14 kilometers ahead of the division. Not once we had to tell him to, buck up. He crossed the finishing line and fell down and had to be taken to the hospital. Now, these are the things, this is what develops when you train in an Armed Force Academy, whether it is Naval Academy or Army Academy or OTA, that you are ready to sacrifice your personal, you overcome your pain for your division, for the group that you work for. So I remember that very, very fondly. I, recount it to other people also. That see the motivation. He had nothing to gain. He did not get any personal prize because of that. But he chose to run in spite of his injury, just for the division. And when you finish the training, you really feel that you can drop me anywhere in the world. I'll come back alive. So what if I don't get sleep for 3 days, 3 nights? So what if I don't get food for 2 days? You actually learn to sleep in Saudan on a parade ground. You learn to sleep when you walk in a night route march. I mean, we used to have a platoon with two guys, in pair you walk. In the night, you have your backpack, your rifle, and so first 2 guys would be awake. Rest, entire platoon would be asleep. So if the first 2 guys fall asleep or if they fall in a ditch, the whole platoon would go in a ditch. You actually learn to sleep while walking, sleep while standing. Even on a parade ground, sometimes, people fall down. And sometimes they fall down because they faint. There's not enough blood supply to their brain. You're standing still for a very long time. Your shoes are tight, your uniform is tight, your belt is tight, you're wearing a cap. So your blood supply is not good enough. But you also see sometimes people who have fallen asleep fall. And they wake up with a startle. And then you realize this guy was sleeping. And the instructor would say, whoever falls because of fainting or because of sleep, there was only one common solution. You take your rifle above your head and you go around the parade ground 10 times. Because if you have fainted because of lack of blood circulation, by running, you get your circulation back. So you're good. And if you have fallen because if you're sleepy, your sleep will go away. It's very funny. It's very funny. And sometimes you feel, when you look back, how did you survive that torture? But that torture makes you so strong that subsequently you feel you can go into any place and come back. And that's for the basic training. When you go for higher training, for commando training, etc., it is much more. But this is just getting your, orientation. It is called orientation.
Yeah. Got it. Sir, since you are a pilot in the Indian Coast Guard, so if you could tell us, how does the selection process happens in terms of who can become a pilot, and how was your training after the academy?
So training in Coast Guard for pilots is selection for the pilots is people can join who have got CPL. They can join as a short service commission officers. So they directly come with the 12 standard and CPL, and then they are taken in Coast Guard. They can stay from minimum 8 years to maximum 12 years. They serve Coast Guard, and it's a very good scheme, I must say, because the training and the experience that they get, the personality is developed. But they also have to go through FSB. So because they have CPL, they are not exempted from FSB. They have to pass through that. Within the service, once you finish your initial training, your volunteers are sought from for various courses, for diving, for aviation, etc., for navigators, for pilots. So once you volunteer for that, you go through PABD. I was sent to Mysore Air Force Selection Board for pilot aptitude battery test. And once you clear that, you go for your medicals to the there's something called Armed Forces Air Force Medical Center in Delhi. So Dholakua. So you go there and you get thoroughly checked whether you're fit as a pilot. You may be fit as a mariner, but you may not necessarily be fit as a pilot. So they do a very thorough checkup, and then you're inducted into aviation. You're sent for training. Today, most of the training happens with the Air Force Academy for Coast Guard also. But the vacancies are not adequate. So you have, from time to time, the Coast Guard officers go outside into flying clubs. They're sent by the government. There's a contract with, I went to Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Udan Academy in Raebareli, Fursatganj. So we had our training there, and we came back to Coast Guard, and then we were trained on the Coast Guard specific aircraft. Coast Guard has got Dorniers. In helicopters, we got Chetak helicopters and the Dhruv helicopter, that is ultralight helicopter. So that training happens again back home. Helicopter training also happens with Navy mostly, basic training with Air Force and helicopter training with Navy. Slowly, Coast Guard is growing its own strengths to do the training. In our times, there was the numbers were so small that it was not practicable for Coast Guard to start its own training academy.
Got it.
And the training, how it happened for me was, once we finished the academy, we used to go to a bigger ship. It was called first phase of training. That was a training ship. Coast Guard ship Varuna was a training ship, and we had a classroom there. And it's a mixed training. Now, physically, you are already toughened, but you are still not tough enough to be at sea. The life at sea is quite tough. And the biggest enemy is seasickness, ocean sickness. When you travel by road or go by flight, you might have seasickness or motion sickness for a very short time. But at sea, you spend days together, weeks together in the same weather. The ship is being tossed around over the ocean, and you can't eat. You puke. Throw out everything that you eat. So you're left with no strength. And then to do what you're doing, that's a real challenge. Because there's nobody to replace you. Half the ship's company will be seasick, at least half. So who is going to replace you? Everybody has got his own job. You can't be told to go and sleep in your bunk just because you're seasick. So the first phase of training is a mixture of a lot of physical torture. It's called training, but it's actually torture. And your classroom goes on. You have to learn navigation, communication. You're going to learn about weapons. So there is a whole lot of plethora of knowledge that you have to gain. Now I think they have stopped, but we used to also have the celestial navigation. Okay. So every morning, every evening, we used to have a star sight. With a sextant, you shoot the star, and that's how you plot your position at sea.
Okay.
Boat work is there. You learn engineering, because if you're working on a ship, you got to know what all is there: generators, radars, anything which is there on the ship, you got to understand the system. Because subsequently, as you grow, you're going to be a captain of a ship.
That's correct.
That preparation starts from a very young age. So once you work in a small part of a ship and understand those systems, how they work, what are the procedures, what contingencies can happen, all this helps you as you keep growing. Your domain starts increasing. And once you're a captain, the whole responsibility is yours. You might have an engineer working with you, working for you. You might have a doctor working for you. You have pilots working for you. You know, you have specialist navigators working for you. You might have all the staff, but responsibility is completely of one man, the captain. He can't say that he told me, so I did it. I took this decision. So you are trained in everything right from beginning. So first phase was working in different departments, and once in the afternoon the deck becomes hot, then your physical training starts on the deck. We were, you can say, we were lucky in a way or unfortunate in another way. We were taken straight from the academy to Sri Lanka when the IPKF operation was going on.
Achha, okay.
So this was something like a wartime. It was actually like wartime. The Indian Navy was there, Army was there, Coast Guard was there in big scale. We were all working in and around Sri Lanka. So we used to, have classes in the morning, afternoon physical work. About sunset time, we used to get out of the harbor. The ship used to sail out. So we used to be doing duties in different parts of the ship. And night time, we used to have commandos going into the, there was a Kokvilla lake near Kankesanturai. Not Kankesanturai, Trincomalee.
Okay.
So the Marcos, the commandos, they used to be left inside and, they used to do their operations and come back. But we had to be prepared for any diverse attacks, sabotage attacks, etc.
Okay.
At that time while we waited. So whole ship used to be darkened. So the night used to be spent like this. And then early morning, we used to sail back to Trincomalee, take shower and sit down in the classroom. So you're not slept for the whole night. You have done a lot of physical work previous day. And you get back into the classroom, and this would go day after day, day after day, day after day, non-stop. So you actually like a zombie. You don't know whether it is day or night, what day it is, what date it is. So you go through that for 4 months, and then you go to a small ship for 2 months, where now you are treated much better. The physical part is now somewhat behind. And you start learning the procedures actually in the departments. You get a little more independence. And then you come back to another bigger ship for third phase of training. Once you finish that, then you start putting on your rank badges. And then you go to various naval schools for further training. Navigation school is there, gunnery school is there, signal communication school is there, electrical engineering, marine engineering, firefighting, NBCD operations, leadership training school. So various schools you visit for another close to 1.5 years. And you do these small courses there. Okay. Now you are kind of prepared to do an independent watch at sea. So you go back to the ship, spend about 6 months there, work under supervision. The training continues, but now this is the time for you to prove yourself. So what all knowledge you have gathered over a period of about 2 years, 2.5 years, you are expected to practice that knowledge and show how much you know. That when the captain is satisfied that you can stand an independent watch at sea. The captain cannot sit in the ship for 24 hours in the bridge of the ship. So the officer of the watch is his representative sitting in the bridge. And he has got absolute power except for the captain and the executive officer of the ship. Anybody, even higher in rank than him, he is subordinate to him for the time of his watch. So he is responsible for the navigation of the ship. He is responsible for morale of the ship. Whatever operation is going on, officer of the watch is the important person. So when he feels comfortable that he can delegate the ship's responsibility to you, he awards you a watchkeeping certificate.
Okay.
Now you can say that formally your training period is over and you become a staff officer. So generally after this phase, then you are ready for going for either navigator's training or a pilot's training or a diving course.
Okay.
In my case, I went for aviation before this watchkeeping phase. I completed all my courses and then went for aviation, went to the Bombay Flying Club initially, initial training. And then from there went to the Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Udan Academy at Pune.
Got it.
After finishing that, came back to Coast Guard in Chennai and then converted on a Dornier aircraft. So that's how the aviation started for me.
Got it, sir. So if you could, also highlight as an officer of Indian Coast Guard, how are your responsibilities different from Indian Navy officer?
Very good question, I must say. Very good question. I think a lot of people do not know what differentiates Navy from Coast Guard. So let me tell you something. Navy and Coast Guard both come under Ministry of Defense, but there is a difference. The Coast Guard is not administratively, except for though it comes under Ministry of Defense, it treated in a mixed way. There are certain regulations which are civil, certain regulations which are military, and it's not considered together with the Army, Navy, and Air Force because they have got very standardized procedures for themselves. Whereas Coast Guard has got some different ways than that. That is about the identity of Coast Guard. As far as work is concerned, you see, Navy is it works covertly. Navy's role is basically to attack. The attack may be in defense, but the Navy has got to have the offensive capability. The Coast Guard's roles are multiple. Probably one of the few forces, few organizations which has got such huge mandate. So we go to sea, but we want to be overt. That means we want to be visible. The Navy wants secrecy. They don't want anybody to know that they are operating. The Coast Guard wants to be visible because we are a humanitarian force. We are like a policing force.
Okay.
So we want people to know that if you are in trouble, you call Coast Guard will come to your assistance. So we announce our position. We tell people that we are there. Even neighboring countries, we tell them that I'm going to patrol in these waters. The airspace may be managed by you, but the water below is my water. So I'm coming in that place and I'm patrolling it. Whereas the naval aircraft will go quietly, it will not have a flight plan. It will be a secret. When it goes, where it goes, nobody will know. So Coast Guard has got some offensive capability, but very limited offensive capability, I must say, because the role is not that. So our main role is search and rescue. Anybody out at sea, he goes missing, has suffered from any disaster, it's the Coast Guard's responsibility to save that person. And we have huge abilities also. Coast Guard has saved more than 10,000 people so far. So many lives saved. And it saved almost every second day, one life is saved by Coast Guard. Almost every second day.
Nice.
Other part is the law enforcement. So anti-smuggling operations. Customs has got very small boats. So they seek our assistance. We got larger ships, we got aircraft, we got hovercrafts. So we are much more effective. We can catch these smugglers, pirates, terrorists, poachers. People come from other countries and fish in our waters.
Yes.
All the resources are ours. And it's a very large area that Coast Guard covers. We have got 200 nautical miles along the coast, is from the coastline into the ocean. That's called exclusive economic zone.
Yes.
So the Coast Guard is responsible for patrolling the exclusive economic zone of the country. People think it is only 12 miles. 12 miles is only territorial waters. So all the land laws are applicable in 12 miles. And your Customs Act is applicable in 24 miles. and then some environmental laws even beyond that. So the Coast Guard is also responsible for pollution response. If any ship oil spill happens, anything like that, the Coast Guard has capability to respond to it. We catch the offenders if they do it intentionally. So environment protection, search and rescue, law enforcement. We assist the fishermen when they are in trouble. We provide assistance to the scientists for their missions.
Okay.
So we deal with a number of agencies, number of government ministries for carrying out our task at sea. So this is what is Coast Guard. And the Navy is, of course, Navy is all the time preparing for a war. But the Coast Guard, for Coast Guard, war is every day. You don't know what situation you're going to hit, in everyday patrol.
Got it. So if you could, also speak about your first flying experience which you had as a, new pilot. How was that?
Very, very interesting experience. First time when I remember about my solo, and I did my solo on a tailwheel aircraft.
Okay.
You hardly get to see tailwheel aircraft nowadays. But it was a Piper Super Cub aircraft, and the instructor always sat behind. And you could not see when you taxied the aircraft because you're sitting with your nose up and your tail is down. You couldn't see ahead of you. So you had to go zigzag. You had to taxi zigzag on the taxiway. You can only see on the sides. You can't see ahead. So you go some distance in one direction, looking at the side, and then you turn and again look left side first and right side later. Like that, you taxi the aircraft. And when the instructor gets down for the solo, he will take you to the end of the runway and then hand over the aircraft to you. And he stands there. He waits for you to come back and land. And suddenly your tail is very light. So when you apply power, your tail lifts up very quickly. And aircraft is so light. And it's such a beautiful feeling that you're on your own, alone. You have a three-dimensional freedom in space. Diving and flying are two activities where you actually have a three-dimensional maneuverability. And you do your circuit and you come back and land. And then you are so elated that you could do it on your own. A very, very valuable experience.
Got it. So you were also part of the 2004 tsunami which happened. So how was your experience back then in that humanitarian mission?
I was posted in Port Blair at the time of tsunami. I was second in command of the largest ship that the Coast Guard has, offshore patrol vessel.
Okay.
And when this happened on 26th, I was on leave on that day.
Okay.
And morning we had this major earthquake coming there. So actually the earthquake woke us up. And I was staying on the third floor. We ran down and the buildings were still shaking. We never thought that we would be able to get out of the building. That was the kind of earthquake we had at that time. And anyway, we came and all stood away from the building. Within a few minutes, people who were posted on the ships at that time, whose ships were in the harbor, they were on duty. They all came back to check on their families, whether the families were safe. The port was very close to our accommodation. And shortly after them, their staff came running, or they got walkie-talkie calls saying that there's something very different happening at sea. They should run back to the ship. So they went back to the ship. And when we went out, then we started seeing the damage which had happened. The tsunami had already hit. I remember Port Blair has got something like a marine drive in Bombay. So you have about 2.5, 3 feet high footpath on the seaward side. I remember almost a 50 feet long piece of that footpath, along with its railing and lighting, had traveled from the one side of the road to the other side of the road. That was the force with which tsunami hit. Fortunately, still there was no loss of life in Port Blair. And it took us time to realize the impact that was there. I remember because of the tremors, I called up there's the infantry brigade there in Port Blair, and I knew the second in command of the brigade. One Colonel Menon was there, so I called him up to ask for tents for us. Buildings were not worthy, so we thought army will have more number of tents and can they spare for us. So he told me that Karnik has suffered quite a lot and all their equipment is going there. Subsequently, in the evening, a Coast Guard aircraft went there to Karnik to check because there was no communication. You see, all these islands have got power generators which are sea cooled.
Okay.
They're right on the coast, sea coast. You know, the cooling is not. They are cooled by fresh water. The fresh water is cooled by the sea water. So all of them got destroyed. So no power, no communication. And when they went there to Karnik, they were shocked to see that they were, stakes of bodies on either side of the runway. Runway was kind of dry. Rest of the island were destroyed. And people were searching for their children's bodies. They didn't have water to drink. So we started getting all this by evening. And next day morning, my ship came back. My ship was at sea at that time. Ship came back and we all left. So we left our families behind without a home. They're actually on the street. And there was no water, no electricity. And all the men left. So families were left on their own. And we went out to sea. We sailed, being the biggest ship, we sent down south, where the islands are far away. The entire Andaman Nicobar belt is almost 1,000 miles. The islands are all spread north and south. So we were told to go to the southernmost island, which is called Great Nicobar. On the way, we were passing one island next day morning, and we were checking with every island, trying to find out how they are. That's our normal practice also, but whenever passes any island, we'll call them up on the VHF and ask them if everything is okay. We do that with the oil rigs also. And there was no response. So we launched a helicopter there. And what we found was so shocking. This island had a population of about 1,500 people.
Okay.
800 had already died. The rest of the 700 had all gathered at one place. And only thing they were doing was pray, dig, bury, pray, dig, bury, pray, dig, bury.
Okay.
No food, no water, no medicines. So we immediately got on to and we started, standing there, fresh supplies. We sent medical teams, started getting those people back on the ship. Those who needed more treatment, they were seriously injured. They were all brought back on board our ship. And then we took them to Karnik. From there, they were either taken to Port Blair or Chennai for further treatment. So that was our first mission. And then we went to the Great Nicobar Islands.
Okay.
So if you know, again, a lot of people think that Kanyakumari is the southernmost tip of India. It is not. It's the Indira Point or a Pygmalion Point, which is the southernmost tip of the Great Nicobar Island. And this lighthouse there was a big lighthouse. And the lighthouse department staff family stayed there. Their houses were there. The generator platform was there because the lighthouse required power supply all the time. So they had their own generator. Everything was totally destroyed. Nothing was left. And we were given task to find out if we could find the families there. We could not do anything. It was a task to get into the life, because now this lighthouse, which was actually on the shore, and there was a huge garden around it, a big beach was there. Everything had gone. And the lighthouse became an island.
Okay.
And all the concrete around had broken. And those steel rods protruding from the concrete made it impossible for us to go any closer to that. The waves were so strong, they would actually ram you onto the concrete and to these steel rods. So going by boat was out of question. We tried to go manually, but we could not climb on top. And finally, we lowered somebody by helicopter onto the lighthouse, and he went and saw inside, but there was nobody inside. So we put that thing back in operation. It was an issue of prestige, because this is the lighthouse which you get when you come out of Malacca Strait.
Okay.
So all the international traffic which is passing south, it passes that way. Huge amount of traffic. A lot of ships go there. So we put this back into operation, and we also got people from various islands onto bigger islands, so that we could look after them. I've been fortunate to be part of the disaster management operations at Bhuj earlier, and then in Tsunami.
Okay.
So subsequently, I was left on the island, on the Great Nicobar Island, because the Coast Guard's own base was also fully destroyed there. So I was given a task to revamp this base. It is permanently gone underwater. Some of the islands tilted, some tilted in such a way that the houses also went underwater permanently. Some islands in the north, they tilted the other way, and where you could take a ship inside, there is no water now. The jetty is there, but the water is not there. So all this, turmoil happened in that area. This Great Nicobar was also in a very poor shape, because there were some 18 policemen on that island, and the first Coast Guard ship which left, they all left on that ship. So there was nobody left there. There was a small army camp. The civilians didn't have food. Water was a problem. All the wells had breached. So they had seawater inside.
Okay.
No power supply, no drinking water. Food was a problem. And while we settled our own camp, right, we also did this task of providing assistance to the people who belong to the island, plus who were brought from other islands to this island. It was a huge effort. It got a lot of applause also, but a huge effort. And what happens, what I've seen in Bhuj as well as this place, the civil administration kind of becomes paralyzed. They are not prepared for this kind of response. Whereas the armed forces, though they come from outside, you see, civil administration belongs there. They know the local resources, they know the local people, the terrain.
Yes.
The armed forces come from outside, and they still deliver, because it's a team of dedicated people. They come with a service mind. They know they want to go and rescue people. Civil administration, unfortunately, doesn't stand up to challenge like that.
Got it.
And we had a lot of chaos in the camps. We had children, we had milk, we had bottles, but they would not come together. There's a doctor, there's medicine, there are patients, but they will not come together. So this coordination becomes a huge challenge.
Got it.
But I think within a week's time, one week they tried, and then finally the Lieutenant Governor had given instructions for us to take over major responsibilities. Of course, civil administration has got a role to play. They were with us. Then we came to the forefront, and then we set things right. But it was every day it was a challenge. Many places you would find situations where you would feel that some people would be lost. The sea was very rough at that time. It was also very cold, and weather also had gone bad. You had rains during that time. It was complete, the whole nature had gone kind of topsy-turvy. And so many people missing. No communication. You don't know if your family or some family member is on the other island, whether he's alive or not. That's all you want to know. But that also becomes very difficult. Unless somebody has taken pains to make lists of people who are there, share those lists. These are services which are difficult even on mainland. But in islands like this, without power supply, communication lines completely broken, it's even bigger challenge.
Got it. Sir, I would like you to highlight, within the Indian Coast Guard, how does the promotion cycle work? Also, I know you are somebody who is being a mariner and a pilot. So how did that happen also?
Promotions, Coast Guard doesn't have any time scale promotions. For officers, there is no time scale promotion. Everything is on merit. So how you perform your ACRs, your training reports, And this is all used when it comes to the promotions. So there is a board which consider all these reports when you are due for promotion. And this is applicable right from the first promotion to deputy commandant from assistant commandant. So again, unlike the Army, Navy, Air Force, where you can grow up to a rank of commander in Navy, where with time you become a commander or lieutenant commander at least, definitely. Sub-lieutenant, lieutenant and lieutenant commander is all time scale.
Yes.
But Coast Guard doesn't have anything time scale. So if you don't fit in merit, you can be stopped at assistant commandant or a deputy commandant also. That's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen generally. So people generally become at least commandant GG, junior grade. So we have assistant commandant, then deputy commandant, then commandant junior grade, commandant, which is senior grade, and then deputy inspector general, and so on, additional DG and director general. These are the ranks in Coast Guard. But they are all merit-based ranks, not time scale at all.
Got it. So if you could also speak about your journey of being a mariner and a pilot.
Yes, it gave me a very good perspective, because being both as a mariner as well as pilot, both streams have got their own culture. If you come to aviation, aviation believes in a lot of reading. You don't touch an equipment unless you're thorough with its operating instructions. So that's a culture in aviation. You can't do without it. At sea, what happens? A lot of people, it's more of a tough job, but people tend to watch around, look, see how other people are doing, and then they do it. So that was one challenge or one opportunity where I could see both sides and bring the good parts from both together. Also in operation, it helped to understand what are the capabilities and limitations of both the resources. Dorniers have got their huge strengths, but they have got their limitations also. Helicopters have got their strengths and limitations.
Yes.
And ships, of course, have that they don't have speed as much as the helicopters or the ship aircrafts have, but they have their own strengths again. And working in both are different challenges. Like a pilot, you are mostly single. Single in the sense you and your co-pilot, or you, your co-pilot and navigator. That makes a team, but it's a very small team. But working on a ship is of so much satisfaction because you're working in a large group. All the success comes out of their coordination and teamwork. When they work together, care for each other. So these are, completely different challenges. As a ship's captain, you don't touch the engines. You don't touch the wheel. As a pilot, you are doing everything yourself.
Yes.
You have your throttle, you have your stick in your hand, and you make things happen. At sea, the captain sits in a chair and he's only giving verbal commands. So it was fun for me to switch from one to another from time to time.
Got it.
Though I joined the aviation, and because of some accident initially, I went back into the marine field for 7 years, grew on the seaside, and then came back to aviation again, and again grew on this side, and then switched, alternately. So it was fun. The life never became boring because you get back to one stream, you have to study again. You can't go unprepared.
Okay.
So this helped me remain fresh, refresh my own knowledge and skills, and share the same thing with my colleagues also.
Got it, sir.
I also got to dive because of the Coast Guard. I had divers with me, so I learned scuba diving from them. And we had a microlight aircraft in Daman, so I learned to fly a microlight. As a result of joining Coast Guard, what I learned in my life or got opportunities to do is phenomenal. So I've been underwater, I've been on surface, I've been in the air, and I still do it. I dive, I fly, I sail. life becomes richer.
Yes.
So I don't have any regret. You were asking about my life before Coast Guard. I had a job with Ranbaxy which paid me in 1986, 87, close to 10,000 rupees.
Okay.
Mostly in allowances. So there was hardly any income tax on that. And when I decided to quit for joining Coast Guard, they offered me promotion. My salary in Coast Guard was 2,250 rupees.
Okay.
Okay. And I had no hesitation in quitting the job and joining the Coast Guard at almost 1/4 the salary. And when I look back today, I don't regret my decision. What today I am is only because of the Coast Guard, that I could fly, I could sail, I could sail in a boat, sail in a ship, learn scuba diving, kayaking, canoeing, windsurfing. All these activities I was able to participate in only because of this service that I.
Got it, sir. So since a lot of youngsters are watching this, you wanted to recommend some books to them which will, help them in certain way.
Yeah, definitely. A number of books I have on my mind to share with them. What I would, request them is to find out on their own what is their motivation for joining the services. As I said initially, also, find out what are you looking for. Be very honest with yourself. Don't have to share with anybody. Write it down and ask yourself: is it a right decision to do this? So, if your motivation is correct, all the hardship which comes with it, you will enjoy it. You got to know your own mind. To win a war, you got to first know yourself. Then you have to know the enemy. If you know both, your victory is guaranteed. But if you don't know your own self, then you are stepping into something which is not really, good for you.
Yes.
And human being is one, species which has got ability to think. Our strength is thinking. The lion, the tiger has got their paws and their jaws. Their strength is in that. Bird's strength is in flying, in their wings. The human being has got a strength in his mind.
Yes.
We have to work on our mind. Because what you believe is true for you. If you think you can, you can. You're right. If you think you can't, you're still right. Then you can't. So how to use your mind to your own benefit, how to get clarity, you have really got to work on it. We don't, unfortunately, learn these things in the school. But if you want to strengthen your mental ability, your mind, and you can achieve anything when you have your mind. I mean, you have spoken, you have talked to so many commandos. It's not about physical strength. It's about mental strength. When you think everything is down, you cannot get up, and you still gather your strength and you get up. That's what makes a commando. It's a mental strength much more than the physical. Physical strength follows. So these books, what I recommend, are for making your mind stronger, getting your clarity, and using your mind power to go where you want to go. So the first book I will recommend is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Okay.
It's by Stephen Covey. And it's a fantastic book. It's not a book which you read once and keep it aside. You go chapter by chapter, you practice what you learn, you speak about it, share it with your friends, okay, bring it in your life and move ahead, So it is, he says, internal victory before external victory. Because if you have control over somebody, the maximum control you have over is on yourself.
Yes.
And you don't have enough control over yourself. You ask a smoker. Even if he wants to quit smoking, he can't. Correct? Yes. Any habit. I mean, I'm just talking about one habit, but getting up early in the morning, going to the gym, running, studying. We want to do it. We know it is right, and we don't listen to ourselves. So we don't have enough control our own self. And if you don't have any control over yourself, you can't manage your own life. You have no business leading other people and telling them how to manage their own life. You'll believe, is it right?
Yes, that's correct.
So internal victory is most important. You have to, kind of punish yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to shrug off that laziness and do things the way they should be done. So that's why the habits are very important. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is one. The next book I would talk about is Atomic Habits.
Okay.
Okay. This is again a beautiful book. It's a story written by himself. The author had a bad accident. He wanted to become a professional baseballer in US. And in spite of his serious injuries and disabilities, what he did of his life is really worth emulating. So that's another book. Secret.
Yeah.
That's one more book I would recommend everybody. It should be seen actually by a family together. The language that we speak, the choice of words that we make, how we think, our thoughts become things. That's what somebody said. Because everything in this world happens twice. It once happens in our imagination, and then it happens in reality. You see, a ship which is constructed is first in your mind, gets on the paper, and then becomes a real ship. Whether it is building a ship or anything. So first it is imagined.
Yes.
And if you make it right there, the rest will always, follow. So Secret is another very important book. I think it should actually become a school syllabus because that teaches you how to use your mind. Ultimate Gift in another book, I recommend very strongly.
Okay.
It's a very small book, but you will enjoy reading it. What happens to somebody who is arrogant, a modern day rich kid, and how he transforms. So this book is about that. Besides, actually, I have pulled out some books to share. For English language, I always improving the language because communication skill is very important.
Yes.
Your vocabulary decides how well you can put your thoughts across. So Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. This is a book. It's fun using this book. It doesn't make it, otherwise improving vocabulary, remembering those words, it's a task.
Yes.
But this book is made in such a way that what you read, you will easily able to recall those words in your day-to-day language. So what you need 5 sentences to describe, you can describe in 1 word. Your communication becomes very effective because of that.
That's great.
These are few books I think every youngster must read to begin his professional life or life outside the house.
Got it, sir. Sir, since you have served in Indian Coast Guard for around 26 years, so if I can ask you, any 3 life lessons, which you still cherish and you still use it in your civil life currently, what will they be?
I'll tell you one story. We were operating right on the Pakistan border.
Okay.
On a ship, and we found some small fishing boats, Pakistani boats, on our side within 2-3 miles. So we caught them, and we saw they were very poor. They didn't have a GPS. They didn't know their position. And when we caught them, they were really very dismayed. These are poor people. They have got some families behind. This probably only earning person is working on a boat. That kind of a thing. Their equipment was all rickety. So when I caught only, I decided I will not take them back. We don't realize what happens is you put them in the jail, the cases go on, they don't have any documents on them. And many times Pakistan refuses to accept them as their citizens.
Okay.
Now you can imagine you have a family behind and you get locked up here. They can't be released out of the jail because they are foreign nationals. The country of their origin doesn't accept them. It's a life of hell. And I had this in mind. So we had decided finally to release them, but we caught them all the same because they were in Indian waters. After catching all some 12, 15 boats, we got them all together and warned them. We told them, "Abki baar to chhod rahe hain, this time we are letting you go. But next time you find in these waters, we'll shoot. So don't come back here." And the moment they realized that we are not going to take them back with us, they were so happy. We had offered them food and water before. They hardly had anything. But they refused to touch that also. And we could see their faces. They were actually real good people, but poor people who had no intention of doing any harm. We had some firing exercise after coming back to Bombay after that.
Okay.
We wanted to practice. So a little inside our waters, and we wanted a target to be dropped, and the ship's gun had to fire on it. So we told these boats only, take this target, floating target, drop it at so and so distance, and then you get clear from there. They went back. The ship's gun is gyro stabilized. That means the ship can keep moving, but the gun will remain pointed at the target.
Okay.
Okay, it's a platform which is gyro stabilized.
Understood.
So the gun will remain there. The ship will keep moving the way it wants. It doesn't matter. The waves will come. But it had some defect, and the gun used to rotate. We call it drifting of the gyro. So it used to go moving, laterally in one direction. So I went inside the turret myself and stood between both the gunners, and I was telling them how to counter that. Once they understood, we decided to fire. So the turret is completely closed. Once the gun turns, the doors mismatch. The outer shell and the inner shell doors mismatch. So unless you make the gun straight, 4.5 we call, till then you can't open the doors also. So we are locked inside a turret and we fire the gun. The first round fires. It's a 40 mm gun, 30 mm gun. The first round fires. Second round goes inside the barrel, doesn't fire. Third round goes behind it and fires.
Okay.
So your barrel is actually blocked, choked. And you have a round firing. It's a big round, a big explosive inside. And that fires behind it. Where is it going to go? It can't go forward because the other shell is stuck inside there, right? So it all came back inside the turret.
Okay.
And the people in the ship thought that we are all dead. It was impossible for us to survive. The fire, the smoke, sparks all came out from the turret. And they thought it's finished. The captain has died and the gunners have died. Believe me, we didn't have a single spark on us. Nothing at all. When I turn back, I see it's the blessings that carry you forward. We were fair to these people. We were humane to these people. Because they were at the gunpoint, we did not, ill-treat them. We knew they were actually innocent. We let them go. It's the blessings probably that saved us. Otherwise, there was no chance of survival there.
Got it.
So whenever you do something good, it comes back to you in some way. You don't know when and where.
Yes.
That was a very big lesson that I learned. It happened with me many years before, actually in my first flight also. When I finished my training and I flew my first flight out of Chennai, we were going to Calcutta.
Okay.
And we had some problem and we had a crash. And the aircraft crashed at sea. We were almost 20 miles out into the sea from the land, Orissa coast. We didn't have life jackets then.
Okay.
And without a life jacket, you fall in the sea from 1,000 feet height, you hit the water at some 400 kilometer speed.
Yes.
The aircraft is broken into pieces. Nothing was found of the aircraft. Subsequently, there were 6 of us on board and 2 of us survived.
Okay.
How I came out of the aircraft, I do not know. There is a life raft inside the aircraft, which is supposed to be operated by the crew. Nobody had time to operate it, but it's open on its own. It's not designed to. And then I could pick up the other survivor. I was the fittest survivor, though my jaw was broken in 3 pieces, and I had 40 stitches afterwards. I had cuts all over. I could pick up the other guy, get into the life raft, and the fishermen came and rescued us from there. And after all this, I remained flying fit. Sadly, I lost 4 of my colleagues, including the captain of the aircraft. But from that day, I started searching what is the reason for my being alive. This was a scenario in which you don't expect anybody to survive. The aircraft drops into the sea and people have no life jackets, and the aircraft is lost and nothing is found there. You don't expect anybody to survive. Why does it happen? We do not know. But I always believe that this. Then I started searching why it happened and what should I do to deserve it. For deserving to survive such an incident, what should I do? I must do something better. If I have got my life back, it must be for some purpose. So that search is still on, and I do what I feel I can do from time to time, but I don't think it's enough ever. So you do good, you live a righteous life, collaborate, help people, and things will happen. Good things will happen to you. Be rest assured. You might go through, difficult situations, but those difficult situations are put into your life to make you better, not to make you bitter. The choice is yours. Either you become bitter and say, this is what happened with me, or you become better from it. So take that with a, swallow your pride, go through it. Take always a positive lesson from whatever situation you have gone through. Never take a negative lesson. I believe everybody who comes in our lives comes for some reason. Some people teach us what to do. We praise them, we follow them.
Correct.
Some people teach you what not to do. We curse them. But actually, they also teach us something. You must be thankful to them. Why only because again, I'll go back. I had gone for how I chose to become a pilot, how I decided to be a pilot. I had been in Naval NCC, so why pilot? So I thank one chief petty officer for this. I went for a Nausainik camp when I was in college to Cochin, and we were taken there to see a naval aircraft. This was a Islander aircraft, very small, pretty aircraft, beautiful aircraft. And you think, when you don't know anything, that every military aircraft is bulletproof. It can take any kind of attack. And that's not true.
Yes.
So I wanted to touch and see that, it looks so beautiful, but it's supposed to be so strong. How is it so? How does the surface feel? So it was cordoned off, and I just wanted to touch. When I went to touch, this gentleman was quite rude. And he said, "Haath mat lagana usko." I felt very offended. And I told him, "Saab, मैं एक दिन आऊंगा, इस जहाज को चलाऊंगा. आप यहाँ पे ऐसे ही खड़े रहेंगे और बोलते रहेंगे, हाथ मत लगाओ, हाथ मत लगाओ." And it went to so much to my head that when an opportunity came to volunteer for aviation, I had this incident in my mind, because of which I said, I will actually go there and I'll fly that aircraft. So I thank him. When I look back, I thank him for doing what he did. It motivated me to be a pilot.
Gotcha.
So don't disregard anybody. Don't discredit anybody. Learn from every person something. And that's a very important lesson again from SSB point of view also. If you are able to take out something positive from a worse scenario, That makes you unique. Complain to sab karenge. Shikayat sab karenge. Okay. It takes a leader to find out something which other people are not able to see. You know, supervisor is a word made of two words. Superior vision is supervision. What other people cannot see, you can see that. Only then you're called a supervisor. You're capable of doing supervision. So these are the incidents. They tell me again and again that what happens in your life is because of the choices that you make some point of time. They're not necessarily directly related to it.
Got it.
There's another question that we did was poachers. Thai and Burmese poachers we had caught in large numbers. They had really created menace on our east coast.
Okay.
And their ships used to be very big. The fishing ships, they had ships. In each ship, you had 50, 60 men. And they were able to stay out at sea for 6 months, 8 months like that. They would come around Singapore from Thailand and fish in our waters in eastern, of Calcutta and all that. So we got so many complaints. They used to damage our fishermen's nets. They used to ram their boats. Our guys had only small boats. They were not developed fishermen. And so we went in search of them. And then in one operation, we caught one of the boats. So there was a huge amount of firing. They all started running. There were 60, 70 boats together. When the heat was generated, they started leaving for their country. But we caught one we were able to catch. So this boat also stopped because the bullet went through the eyebrow of the person who was at the steering.
Okay.
And then I boarded the boat with my team. We have something called a boarding party in the ship.
Yes, yes.
So I was in charge of the boarding party. I was the boarding officer, and we were dropped on that boat. Most of the guys had bullet injuries. Most of them. The boat was full of blood, flesh on the walls. It had holes in all superstructure, and one was dead already. So we shifted all these injured people to our ship immediately. And the master, the engineer, the dead body, me and two of my jawans. That's all. We were left there to head back. And the ship went after the other boats. So we got the boat clean. The dead body was put into the hold. For the fish, there's the ice hold. So it was put inside there. And it is a huge task to hand over this boat back to the police. When you come back, so you have to make an inventory. What all is there on the boat? You've got to make a list to hand over. So when I started doing this exercise, the gentleman tried to ask me through sign language. When I opened the cupboards one after the other lockers, he started giving me better and better things. He had some electronics with him. They had bought from Singapore. He thought I'm looking for something for myself. So he thought something more attractive, I would like to have. But I used to look at it, note down its make, brand, whatever names, and give it back to him. After continuing this exercise for some time, he was puzzled and he asked me, what are you doing? I said, when you go back, all this will be, together will be handed over back to you.
Okay.
That's what I'm making a list for returning back to you. He was quite surprised. Then he told me there was a Toshiba TV and a VCR. Those days he used to be a VCR. So he pointed out, he said, TV, VCR, no right. Captain, gift. So I laughed and I pulled out my pockets. I had empty pockets. I said, I come empty pockets, I go empty pockets. And I put my finger, I said, fear God. So he understood. I said, okay. After some time, he came back to me and he wrote down a figure of 85 lakh baht. 85 lakh baht. Baht is a Thai currency.
Yes.
This was in 1993. Okay. And he says, just make me help, let me make one HF call. He had a HF radio on board. One call. One boat will come, give you money. 2 of us will go on that boat. You take a boat. Okay. Only 2 of us, let us go. And in return, he offered me 85 lakh baht. So I again laughed, and again I showed him my empty pockets. I said, I come with empty pockets and I go with empty pockets. Subsequently, after we handed them over to the police at the end in Paradeep, he called for me. They had a small temple in their ship. Okay. And he had some small idol of some sand. I don't know what sand that is. But he put it on his hand and he came to me and he said, you fear God, right? I said, yes, please keep this. And today also this is in my temple at home.
Okay, peace.
And I think that is valuable, much more valuable than anything else I could have gathered in my life. So it is these kind of things which, stand with you in bad times. Your decisions follow you. They're definitely karma. I very strongly believe. So keep doing good, be positive, and somehow, somewhere it will come back without expectation.
Got it. So since a lot of aspirants will be watching this, and this is also my final question, what will be your message to all of them who wants to join the forces?
If your motivation is correct, is the most right decision. No, there is no profession better than the soldier's profession. And Indian soldier is like, it's a combination of 2 personalities. And this is not said by me, this is said by Guru Nanak Dev. Okay. The Sikhism has got 2 symbols. One is of saint and one of soldier. The saint sits down, thinks good, but does nothing. A soldier is doing something, he's actually working, he's capable of doing a lot, but he can be devil or a saint. So if both these things come together, good thoughts and a lot of action, that's what makes a good soldier. So if you're prepared to do that, not just for the honor of wearing a uniform or just, for the salary or the perks that come with it, that may be there, that may not be there. The time will change, So don't go for the visibles alone. If your motivation is right, I'll assure you, you will enjoy your life. And when you grow to my age and look back, you'll have nothing else but satisfaction. So prepare well, change yourself, transform yourself. In the bargain, after transforming yourself, even if you don't get selected, don't worry about it. You're still a much better person when you come out of it. So don't get disheartened. If you don't get selected, don't get disheartened. Try your best, give your 100%. Don't sit at home and prepare for your exams. Once you finish your education, you should not have a gap. I strongly feel this. For your competitive exams, these competitive exams, you can do while doing something else. So don't stop your life and say, these 2 years, I'm just going to prepare and appear. That's it, nothing else. It won't also work in your favor when you go for interview. Also, whatever you are doing, do it 100%, because when you are doing very well, what you are doing now, I have some guarantee that you will do better when you get to do what you come for. Correct?
Correct.
The job or the profession or the study that you are doing now, if you are not giving you 100% now, how do I know you're going to give 100% in the
that's correct.
soldier's profession? So what you touch, it should be like a gold. What you touch should turn into gold. That should succeed. Give it 100%. And still prepare yourself. So this is also part of preparation. Giving 100% to the task which is at your hand is also part of preparation. So don't sit idle at home and just prepare for your exams. Do something substantial. Help your parents. Don't become a burden. The moment your school education or college education finishes, it's your responsibility. Parents have done their bit. Now it's your responsibility. You got to be on your own and help them back. At least don't become a burden for them. And be mentally prepared. It's whatever you do now, physically, mentally, you're still going to be challenged when you go for training. But training makes the best of the memories. When you look back, you will enjoy them. Okay.
Yes.
And it's for limited time. It's for a limited time. The toughest moments are the best memories.
Yes.
That's what I think I can tell the youngsters. Wish you all the best and do well in every walk of life. Become a good person. That's more important than anything else. An officer cannot be not a gentleman. So first be a gentleman, first be an honest, good person. And then transformation into an officer is only matter of training. But becoming gentleman is your responsibility. It's not trainer's responsibility. So take that and succeed in that.
Thanks, sir, for your time on this session. It was really an enriching experience, about hearing from your experiences, your thought process and perspective about how things have happened in your life and how you look at life. I hope a lot of people will get a different perspective about life in the Coast Guard, the way you think about life and various experiences that they may or may not undergo. And I hope this will be, a lot of value add for them in their life as well. So thanks a lot, sir, for your time on this session. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you very much. Jai Hind.